Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Woo! Off and rolling on a Tuesday morning. Sneak peek. Way, sneak peek time. Yay, sneak peeks. Trey Wingo here with Mike Golic. How are you, pal?
I'm doing well.
We're both having computer issues for a variety of reasons.
We are.
But we're glad you're with us.
We are. Thanks for joining us.
We have some things we're working through.
Yeah.
We'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
So this is the future.
That is.
We got a start date and everything, right?
Sneak peek.
Yeah.
We can stop saying later this fall.
No, it's very late this fall.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah.
We weren't asked. November 27 seems to be the date that Trey and myself, my son Mike, will join us for the beginning of each show as well. That we start this monstrosity known as We Think Golic Wingo. We'll figure that one out as well.
Wait, who needs a catchy name for
Yeah, you don't need that.
Don't need that.
I mean, need that at
By the
all.
way, is the air conditioning off in here?
It is.
What's going on?
So hot.
It's a little sticky.
I just figured it was hot because I'm still sweating out ungodly amounts of poison from my body.
Yeah. How was the wedding?
Oh, the wedding.
Speaking of ungodly amounts of poison, how was the wedding?
Yes. For those that may not know, I was gone Thursday, Friday, and yesterday. My son Jake and his now wife Jenny were married Saturday at Notre Dame.
Nice.
And it was. Let me tell you, it was fantastic. It was. I mean, so many people came in and their friends, and that's a cool thing when people make that trip for you.
Sure.
And it was from Thursday night karaokeing and Friday morning golfing.
Golf.
And
Did you get to play 27?
No, I didn't play 27. I played 18.
Get ready.
And the swing juice ran out, so I went home to the rehearsal dinner, to the wedding, and everything. It was great. Incredible. You know what was really, really cool is when you sit back. My son Mike was the best man for Jake.
Nice.
And Sydney was the maid of honor for
Nice.
Jenny. And the first thing they did, and I think it was from the movie Me, You, and Dupree, I believe, Mike had the best man patch.
Okay.
And Sydney had the maid of honor patch. The seamstress was a little shocked when Sydney wanted it sewn onto her dress.
Yeah.
And
hey, the commitment was there.
yeah, it's exactly right. But Mike gave an incredible speech. Sydney gave an incredible speech as maid of honor. And I have to say, Jenny's father, Tony Facilla, who's a football coach at Tufts, the father of the bride, he was just fantastic. He giving your daughter away down the aisle and such, and then the speech he gave that night was fantastic. So 3 talks. Jenny's dad, Anthony Facillo, and Mike and Sydney were just fantastic. So that was very cool. So certainly there was emotion involved. All the women look great, Jenny and all the maid of honors and my wife Chris, she looked fantastic.
Absolutely.
And Jenny's mom. It was a very, very, very. We'll have some video for it.
Nice.
In a couple of the TV segments from it, but good time. But as I was telling you before we started the show, it's amazing. You work so hard to try and look good and get yourself in. You
get
eat
in perfect
well,
shape.
you work
and do all
out.
that
You want to
stuff,
fit good in your clothes, especially the women in their dresses and such. They want to, and then you just poison yourself.
Well, I saw the donut wall.
We had a donut wall. We had a donut wall. We had s'mores. We had chicken and waffles.
Oh.
I mean, so then and am I proud to say that we were told we set an alcohol consumption record?
Yeah.
Do we get a plaque?
Yes, you do.
We
You
were
get a
told
standing
that at
ovation
some
from
point,
me.
and
I'll tell you
before
that
anybody
much.
loses their mind, it was thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Everybody was staying at the hotel the reception was at, so we were all good there. But yeah, so it was you take so long to try and look good, and everybody did look good, and then you just Chris and I got home yesterday and we're like, oh my God, we feel like crap.
Well, that's the flaw in your plan. That's the fly in your ointment. I subscribe to a different theory.
Which would be?
Never work hard to look good, so you don't ever feel that bad when you go down the crap.
Well, you've hit the ball out of the park because you don't look good.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can do whatever I want tomorrow and still feel great about myself.
There you go.
So I mean, it's really all about managing expectations.
You know what I say about that?
Yeah.
Sneak peek.
There you go. Yes, don't forget Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear in the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. And tweet us at 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. But
did they get in your ear to say that?
Yeah. It is really hot in the studio.
It is really hot in here.
Normally, you could cure meat. In here.
You could.
There's
you
a
could.
bacon corner over there. There's an ice maker over there. And it's literally like 400 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pouring out of me right now that's just not good.
There's a for those of you that are not watching, A, probably better.
Yeah.
B, there's a puddle
yes,
of
there is.
sweat vodka around Golic.
Yeah,
right
that puddle would test
impressive.
positive. So
that would not be a diluted sample. That would be an actual sample. So anyway, we're glad you're back. Glad everybody got through the wedding and everybody's
all
good.
All
Side
good.
note, by the way, you said Jenny's dad is a coach at Tufts?
He's a coach. He's a
how long
coach
has he been at Tufts?
I don't know how many years. He started as a high school coach. He's been a college coach for a while now. I mean, he's been there for I don't know how many years. I'll try and find that out.
The reason I ask is they were recruiting my son to play.
Oh, okay.
There. So
I
was wondering.
I believe he's a wide receivers coach as well. So that would not have encompassed
no,
his son Chappie.
But we went up
the
there.
Offensive lineman that he is.
Correct. We went up there for a visit and went through the whole thing.
Right.
So just curious.
Okay.
We'll see if we can work it all together.
Well, we'll see how we
it's
can
another
do that.
layer of the connection.
Wow.
It all comes together.
It'll be all part of our getting to know you segment.
All part of Sneak Peek Week.
There you go.
It's never happened before. It is really, really
warm.
All right, so let's continue toasting by starting off the top. Yeah, top. Actual sports radio now. Lonzo Ball named the MVP of the Las Vegas Summer League despite not playing in the championship game due to a calf injury as the Lakers beat the Trailblazers.
Yeah, they did 110-98. The Lakers were the 15th seed in this, the lowest seeded Vegas Summer League champion. We're finding out so many things about the Summer League because this is the first time I know in the 18 years I've been doing this show we've ever talked about the Summer League, and that's all, quite honestly, because of LeVar Ball.
Correct.
and on to Lonzo Ball, who didn't play in this game, had the calf strain, but we also saw some of the other rookies out there. This Dennis Smith Jr., I think, is going to be an absolute stud as well. There are more than a few from this class I'm really looking forward to seeing. Lonzo Ball joins John Wall and Blake Griffin as the only top two picks to win Las Vegas Summer League MVP. The last three Summer League MVPs, though, not household names.
Correct.
Tyler Jones, Kyle Anderson, and Glenn Rice, not that Glenn Rice.
Exactly.
Were the last three to win Summer League MVP. But as Magic Johnson said, we think the Lakers are back.
Yeah. Hey, let's slow the roll there. Well, we'll find out. Hey, it was something.
It was.
It was something.
Increments.
Yeah. So, all right, good
you
for
know
them.
what it was with this new Laker team?
What?
It's a sneak peek.
It is, a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
We'll work that in about 400.
Yes, we will.
We continue with
Off the Top.
Giancarlo Stanton had 2 home runs in the Marlins' 6-5 win over the Phillies. It was his 6th multi-home run game of the season, tied for the Major League lead with the most in a season in Marlins history.
Yeah, Marlins history has 24 now. The next is Hanley Ramirez with 12. His 24 career multi-home run games are third most in baseball since the end of the league in 2010. He's behind only Jose Bautista with 27 and Miguel Cabrera with 25. He has 28 home runs this season, 2 behind Aaron Judge, who everybody says the home run derby has just destroyed his swing. He's 1 for 18, had a home
1
run
for 21 now.
1 for 21 now. Who was it? Cody Bellinger for the cycle. Didn't seem to bug him too much.
He's doing just fine.
And maybe it was Stanton got knocked out in the first round, so he didn't have to swing anymore. Still hitting the multi home run games, but he hits ball far.
Yeah, ball go far off bat.
Uh-huh.
By the way, there's some other things we need to get in with baseball later. Manny Machado saying the All-Star game was boring.
Yes,
which I thought was an interesting comment.
Coming from a baseball player.
Correct.
Who wasn't on the All-Star team.
Also true.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a whole segment on that just to watch Hembo's head explode.
Yes, we are.
When the words baseball and boring come together, it's like that scene from that movie Scanners.
Yeah,
when
this
Hembo's
explosion.
Bits of his brain everywhere. The amazing thing was there was brain for Hembo. So that was the thing we found out.
A lot of brain.
Congratulations, Hembo.
Good job, Hembo.
You're a rock star.
You have brain.
We move on.
Off the top.
This one really surprised me.
Yes.
Just more because of the timing of it. The Panthers firing general manager Dave Gettleman on Monday, and his 4 seasons, they were 40-23-1 and got to a Super Bowl.
They did, and 3. They didn't make the playoffs last year, but 3 straight years before that. Now, one of them was a 7-win season.
7-8-1.
You still got there. You still made it in there. 40-win season, 3 playoff appearance, and the Super Bowl appearance since 2013. The Patriots have done it twice. Seahawks once, Broncos once, and we see the Panthers, as you mentioned, 40 wins there, and they were in the Super Bowl. We'll talk about this one because of the timing. There's something going on there to be able to do it now of what's going on there. We hear the players didn't really like him and things. Now, how much should that matter? We'll see. But we'll get into that a little more. But, I think we've had, 4 different GMs move around.
This summer, which is really weird.
Really something. But right now, just a few days before camp starts and opens up for a lot of these teams, the timing of this was very surprising.
Well, I don't know if you saw any of the former Panthers Twitter reactions. Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Steve Smith.
Yep.
And D'Angelo Williams, who, of course, spent most of his career there before going to Pittsburgh the last few years, has now said, I put the Panthers back on the list of teams I'm willing to play for now that Gettleman is gone.
And he called him a snake. I mean,
yeah,
it was him. He referred to him as a snake. Yeah, there's not a lot of love lost there. Now, should there be between player and GM?
Right.
I don't know how important is that. But obviously, Jerry Richardson, again, the only former player owner in the league, ends up pulling the string on this just a few days before camp.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into.
Yeah, there is.
And Herm Edwards will join us a little bit later, and I think Jeff Darlington will join us as well, so we'll try and get some more clarity on that. Did you say a player and general manager in a relationship?
Yeah, I did.
Well, let's continue with
Off the Top.
Because guess what? Kirk Cousins, that's Kirk Cousins,
not Kurt,
and Washington failed to reach a long-term deal, which means he'll become the first quarterback in NFL history to play 2 consecutive seasons under the franchise tag.
Yeah, so he's going to make himself, about $44-45 million guaranteed. They haven't signed him. So here's a guy, Trey.
Yeah.
In the last 2 seasons, so this was your quarterback who you had a chance to sign a couple of times. In the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 4,500 yards throwing. He's averaged 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and averaged 68% completion.
Yep.
Yet, they don't know what his value is or want to sign him to a long term. I mean, it blows my mind what they're doing there. And then, now, it's amazing how they made it publicly offer they made him about making him one of the highest paid ever. Dig deep down into that one, as we will, and you'll realize, not so much.
No. In fact, that was there's a lot to get into there.
Yeah,
so we'll finish up
Off the Top.
right there. That was Off the Top, presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot to see how much you could save before switching to Progressive. Visit progressive.com/snapshot. So let's dive in there for a minute, because this is clearly a quarterback-driven league. And what Bruce Allen, the general manager, first of all, in a press conference that was on the team's website, he kept calling him Kurt. Not Kirk with a K, but Kurt with a T. Now, there should be a minimum that if you're talking about a player, you should say his name correctly if you're the employer.
Did you hear the explanation
I'm not
from the
it.
team? Exactly what Trey said. He said Allen, on 5 separate occasions, refers to Cousins as Kurt instead of Kirk. A team spokesman has said any instances in which it sounds like Allen said Kurt can be attributed to the accent of the Virginian-born Allen.
You buying that?
There you go.
You buying that?
I'd rather have it for free as much as I buy.
I mean, I've hung around a lot of Virginians, and I didn't know that was a T and a K.
I didn't
issue.
either.
So, but whatever.
Kirk, either way.
That's like one of just the many things that's just so weird
about
this
situation. I agree.
And when you look deeper into the contract situation, when he said, we offered him $53 million guaranteed, $72 million against injury, that contract that they were talking about was a 6-year deal, I think, which was essentially 2 years guaranteed money, and then a series of 4 one-year options, basically, for the team option. So basically, if you're Kirk Cousins, why would you do that when you can get 2 years?
Now
you can get 2 years of that and still have your own control your own destiny.
He just got it last year. He played for, what was it, Hembo? $20 million.
24, I think. It went 21 to 24.
20.
It's going to be 28 this year. And if they put the transition tag on him, or I think it could go up to like $34 million next year.
If he gets tagged next year, it'd be 30. The transition is 28. I think he made 21 last year and 23.9 this year, right in that area. So he's going to have made $45 million guaranteed in the last 2 years. So why would you do that and then play on the series of 1-year deals?
Yep.
I don't. And it's amazing now the Redskins coming out and publicly talking about it, because they're obviously going for the public sway here of hey, look at what we're offering this guy. And again, as I said, it's all monopoly money, even though, in the NFL they make less monopoly money than the NBA and baseball. It's still monopoly money, but they're trying to say, hey, everybody's ripping us. Look what we offer the guy, and he didn't take it. But you dig down into this deal as compared to other quarterback deals, fair or unfair, market is what the market is. there's no way if I was him, I'd have taken this deal either.
Yeah. Here's Adam Schefter, by the way, with more about what we're talking about, how rejecting this contract offer, or not even responding to it from what the Redskins were saying, basically gives him the control that every player wants. Listen.
Now, Washington still can use its transition tag on Kirk Cousins next season, which would give it the chance to match. That transition price would be $28.7 million. The franchise tag would be $34.8 million. But you see the numbers we're talking about here right now. Kirk Cousins is in control, and the $53 million that he turned down included the $24 that he was going to earn this year, which accounts for only $29 next year. Why would he take that offer? Makes no sense. And he's also said it's not about the money. This is about a general feeling, making him feel wanted, appreciated, respected. I don't know that he felt respected when the Redskins released the numbers to try to spin it in their favor.
The one thing I want to say really quickly, I'm tired when a player says it's not about the money.
Always about the money.
Just stop it. Oh, I mean, so from that side, don't do
It's
that.
always about the money.
Yeah, it is absolutely about the money. And the excuse of, which I've heard Kirk say, was, I just let my agent handle it. You know, kind of absolving him to saying, I'm
smart of him to do it.
I'm trying to get the most money I can. Everybody is trying to get the most money they can.
Yeah.
Understood. Let's just assume that and stop with it. Well, it's not really about the money. Just stop. It is about the money, and it's okay. It's okay that it's about the money. You're going to get paid a lot of money. It's fine.
That's funny because I think it was Denny Nagel, the pitcher, when he went to Colorado, when, you pitcher in Colorado, it's you're giving up home run balls all the time. And they said, why did you choose, the Rockies over all these other teams? And, because they gave him the most money. And he said, well, they have really good schools here.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
Did
he talked about the school districts.
Really?
Pretty sure that you could put your kids in any school you want for the $170 million.
Well, I did hear they do have some nice schools.
But they have tremendous school systems.
Serve some great
that's
lunches.
What it was. Yes,
from what I understand.
really good. So I thought that was interesting. You're right. It's always about the money. And this is a way for Kirk to really control that money and figure out what he wants to do and where he wants to get that money from. Because he's getting it one way or the other.
He is getting it, and a lot of people say, okay, now there's
hold on. It was Mike Hampton, not Denny Nagel.
Mike Hampton.
I apologize for impugning the good name of Denny Nagel.
There you go.
It was Mike Hampton who said, the school district.
Squared that away.
Yeah.
And the deal is, so now he puts it back on his shoulders a little bit of having to have a decent year. But quite honestly, that's all it'll take is a decent year.
Yeah.
He's going to get paid somewhere. I mean, he's a guy that continues to just bet on himself, and he's winning right now. We remember when Joe Flacco bet on himself and won. Now, what that can mean for an organization, that's a whole other can of worms that we can open up and talk about. You want to talk about –
that's an interesting one.
One of the biggest differences, and there's been so much talk about the NFL salaries and the basketball salaries and how can the NFL get the basketball salaries. You can't. Or get closer. How can that improve? Here's the deal. It's amazing. The top paid, the Steph Currys and the Hardens and anybody get these super max deals, they are actually helping the players below them get more money because it's a max deal. If it were open to the free market, they would make so much more money because it's a max deal and there's a ceiling on what these stars can make. And as a league, you have to pay X amount of dollars. That money has to then go somewhere. And it goes down to the next level players. That's the one. Nobody rips Steph Curry for making $205 million or Harden for $228. It's the guy who they don't really know who all of a sudden is making $20 million. Well, that's because the teams have to spend that money. And the top players can only make so much. In the NFL, when you try and make as much as you possibly can, the rest of the team can get decimated. Look what happened to the Ravens when Flacco finally got his deal.
Well, see, it's funny you bring that up because there's a lot to get into there. And, when we were doing this thing on NFL Live, it was quarterback roulette. It was whether or not you could keep your guy or spin a wheel and just land on somebody. And we did the AFC North one of those days, and we talked about the Ravens. And I went to – the research team and said, what are the numbers since Joe Flacco got his big contract? Right. Well, since I think they had to lose 8 starters off that Super Bowl team.
Right. 7
or 8, depending on how you look at it, because Paul Kruger, the rush end, didn't really start the first play of Super Bowl 47, but he was on the field majority of the time, and he did start a lot of games. So, you can spin that either 7 or 8, okay? And they had made the playoffs 5 straight years before they paid Joe Flacco. In the time since they paid Joe Flacco, they've only made the playoffs once in 4 years. And over that time frame, Flacco has the worst touchdown to interception ratio of any quarterback that's played multiple seasons. The only one with the worst one was Jared Goff last year, but he's a rookie, so it doesn't really equate. And I made the point that when you pay a quarterback that kind of money, it has major
Sure does.
ramifications on the rest of the team. And people in Baltimore are very upset with me.
But it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's
okay?
the truth. And it's a shame because you play in the market and the guys are getting paid that kind of money. So, okay, I don't have a problem with you getting paid that kind of money because in the NBA you can do it and everybody else ends up still getting paid. But in the NFL, all of a sudden you're looked upon as the bad guy. If you take all the money you can get. And I really mean the quarterbacks. These are the ones that make the most money. And they're saying, boy, if you do. Because and Herm's going to join us, and we can talk about that on the inside. As it talked about to these players, hey, you take all this money, man, we're in trouble.
Well, and it's not just the Ravens. Look at as good as Drew Brees is, and he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm for them getting every penny you can get.
Me too. I'm right.
Let's be clear about that.
I'm not
Take
saying
the money.
I'm not saying a quarterback should say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. But the system right now, it really screws up a team.
The last 3 years, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, no playoffs because you have so much money invested in one position. It's impossible, almost impossible, to build a team on both sides of the ball. And that's the reality of the situation with the quarterback salaries now. And it's not just because it's not so much Flacco's fault or Breeze's fault.
No. Agreed.
The idea is that when you put that much money into one position, your margin for error everywhere else is minimal.
Right.
It is razor thin. You have to hit on every draft pick.
Exactly.
You have to hit on every free agent signing. You have to hope that none of those guys that you matter get injured as much as they might otherwise. Everything else that you do, your margin between winning and losing becomes paper thin.
You're right.
Because all that money goes to one position.
Yep.
And that's the biggest problem for everybody looking at these quarterback deals. Aaron Rodgers is making 2013 money in 2019 now.
Right.
Tom Brady has never had.
And everybody sees Brady, who takes less all the time.
Correct.
So they can have all those other Pro Bowlers around. Oh, that's right. They don't have all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Never mind.
But
it's still working. They have the money to do what they want.
It works.
Right.
It works for them. Now, you could make the argument that when Brady got his contract renegotiated, it lowered his base salary, but he got like a $24 million bonus. So there was tons of it there.
He's getting money. It's okay.
Correct.
Yeah, he's
okay. But it is the issue right now in the NFL, and I feel for teams, and in one sense I understand why Washington is hesitant to do this because when you push all that money in on one guy, he better be at least Drew Brees. You know what I mean? Or otherwise there are real issues. So we'll get into that a lot more. It's a really interesting dynamic on how you can build a team and still pay that quarterback. By the way, no team has won a Super Bowl in the last 15 seasons that has devoted more than 15% of their total cap to a quarterback.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Guys don't really talk about antiperspirant. Despite that, 91% of Dove Men Plus Care users recommend it. Here's what they said.
It blocks the, perspiration, I think is the fancy word.
It's comfortable. It smells nice. My girl likes the smell.
Well, it's hard.
I think it's quite masculine. My underarms aren't the worst thing at the gym.
It's kind of like the Hoover Dam from my armpits, I guess.
Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Tough on sweat, not on skin.
I feel like Tremaine Johnson has gotten shortchanged here.
He has.
It's always
Le'Veon Bell, Kirk Cousins, and others.
And there's only one other. Let's give him a little love.
And by the way, Tremaine Johnson, I think it's 16.7. He's going to be the highest paid cornerback in football.
Yes, he is. Le'Veon Bell going to be the highest paid running back, and Kirk Cousins, by average, the fourth highest paid quarterback.
All right, we continue, Mike and Trey in the morning. Mm-hmm. Glad to be sneak peek. Sneak peek. By the way, don't let anyone ever tell you that complaining doesn't work because the air conditioning's on now.
Now it's really cold in here.
It's really cold in here. It was really, really warm before. Hey, that other voice. You know who that is? That's Herm Edwards.
That's Herm Edwards, ladies and
My
gentlemen.
road dog is here. What's up, Rhodey?
It's good to be back.
Good to have you with us.
Good to be back.
Herm joins us in studio, giving us the straight talk, as he always does. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Now, you were out in Tahoe.
Yes.
Playing in the American Century Championships, the celebrity tournament that comes on every year. It's a really fun event. It's a great course in Edgewood. How'd you play?
Played okay, like I always do. I go out there and forget how to play a couple rounds. And one round I played halfway decent. I've been very fortunate in this thing for like 12 years. And I know a good friend of mine was at your son's wedding.
Yeah, you said this is the 28th year of it. And there are 3 that have been there over 20 years. John Elway, Jack Wagner, General Hospital, and Mike Eruzione.
There you go.
Of Olympic hockey fame. He was at our wedding. He is from Jenny's side of the family.
Nice.
It's I believe Jenny's godfather, uncle, related on that side of the family. So he was there and reminded me that what he was missing for this wedding. I said, dude, go talk to Jenny.
We all make choices,
me,
you know?
It was kind of. We always have this player meeting on Wednesday. And so we are introducing the guys that have been there, and we mentioned that he was not there. And the reason for that is because the former president, obviously Mr. Clinton, was there.
Right.
And he came and spoke to us.
Nice.
It's kind of interesting.
That is kind of cool.
He came in, and said whatever he had to say, and it was funny. And I was getting ready to reach over. He's shaking people's hands, and and I'm looking at him like I'm looking at Trey. I was getting ready to introduce myself. He says, Coach Herm. I said, that's pretty good.
How great is
The
that?
press knows Coach Herm. I called my wife. I said, the press, he knows me.
That's very cool. And then a quick side note on Mike Eruzione. One of his grandkids pulled a fire alarm at the reception.
Fun time.
We had to clear it out for a little bit.
That's fun times.
Good. The kid apologized, and it was like, so I'm like, hey, don't be sorry. This adds to the story. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He
didn't mean to.
Let's be clear.
He's like a little kid. He accidentally did it.
I was about to say,
hey, see with me. It wasn't like, watch me, Mom.
The best thing, that's one of the things you actually remember from the weekend, which was a
exactly
bonus.
right.
So anyway, by the way, to Herm's story about the president knowing him, I'm convinced that every time I go visit Herm in Monterey, I could commit a major crime just walking behind him, and no one would know.
No one would care.
You are invisible when you walk around
Mm-hmm.
Monterey. I call him the mayor of Monterey, the Prince of the Peninsula. Everybody knows him. So I could pretty much do whatever I want as long as I'm walking behind Herm, because no one would see me. Mm-hmm. No one would see me. Now, our former colleague, Mark Mulder, the pitcher, actually won that event for the third straight year. He was clearly in the zone, which is brought to you by AutoZone. Drive the new Duralast GT brake pads, proven tough from the tracks to the streets and sold only at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. So congratulations to Mark, the only 3-time champion ever
really
at that event.
That's impressive. That looks like an incredibly great event. Something I know I will never, ever be allowed to golf in because, A, I'm not good enough, and B, they don't want me drunk golfing.
Well, they might. A lot of people that were there in attendance watching.
Well, in attendance,
you would have fit in with them.
I would have fit in with them, yeah.
Perfectly.
Well, I would have fit in with them even better because my ball would have been where they are all the time,
Look,
too.
Charles Barkley hit a tree, and that made his only par of the week, I think.
There you go.
He beaned one off a tree in a par 3.
Whatever works.
And that was his only par of the entire week. I think he was minus 643 points or something like that.
It doesn't matter.
But anyway, we're getting off on a wrong tangent. But, Herm, let's talk about this whole Kirk Cousins thing.
Sure.
Because, look, this is a quarterback-driven league. We know that. And Washington needs a quarterback, and it's just a weird dynamic how this relationship has sort of unfolded or really fallen apart between Washington and Kirk Cousins. And a lot of it, if you listen to what Tony and Mike Wilbon were saying on the TV segment that we just did, I think that's true. A lot of it goes back to when Kirk and RG3 were drafted, and clearly RG3 was the golden child. He was the Rookie of the Year, second overall pick in 2012. I think Kirk was a fourth-round pick that year.
Right.
And it just seems like it's never really gotten any better between those two from that start.
Well, I think this is what has happened to this organization. I think when obviously Robert had that fantastic season, they put in all their emphasis on Robert. He was going to be the face of the franchise, and then it didn't work out to be that way. Cousins comes in and plays really good for him and has done that last couple of years. And I thought this is what happened to him. He was a guy that, they had a feel for him but really didn't know. He gets him into the playoffs, doesn't win a playoff game. I think that in the next year they're looking, saying if he does it again and we get in the playoffs, maybe we'll give him this long-term deal. That did not happen. Okay, so now they sit back and go, well, we don't want to allow what happened to Robert Griffin to happen with this guy. So now we're going to just keep stringing this along and say, well, he's going to have to prove it to us. Well, now they put him in a situation where basically he feels like, look, everything I've accomplished the last 2 years here now, that doesn't show you I'm worthy of having a long-term deal. And we're saying bet on himself, and that's great to bet on yourself, but he loses 2 receivers over 1,000 yards.
First time ever in free agency,
Okay,
2,000-yard receivers
Those guys are gone. He has a fabulous tight end when he's healthy.
Right.
So now he's sitting in a situation where he's really pretty calm, I think, and he understands it because they franchised him twice. Going to make a lot of money, obviously, but he wants to be there. But I think what he's going to do, he's going to just sit back and go, okay, if not, I'm going to get out of here. And he's got a landing spot. We know where that's at, right? It's not on the West Coast. I mean, this is his landing spot if it doesn't work out after this season. I think the league ought to do this. This is what hurts you sometimes. This franchise, I shouldn't say franchise tag, but paying the quarterback all the money, as Trey just mentioned, it's a quarterback-driven league. I think the league, if they were smart, this is what they would do. They would designate, now, it doesn't have to be the quarterback, one player on your roster that whatever you pay him doesn't count on the cap. That way, you could keep your team together. In other words, if you want to pay this guy whatever it is, if the quarterback is the highest paid player on the roster, do not count his salary on the cap. That way you can keep your football team. Because when you pay these guys all this money, a lot of times it affects your football team. It affects the bottom line of the football team.
So the team, as we keep talking about this, we see that the highest average per year salary now of the quarterbacks, I'll go to the second, third, and fourth.
Yes.
Andrew Luck, and that team has done nothing. Right? Drew Brees, they've had the most dead money in the league in 2015, 2016.
Yeah, there's an interesting point there. Finish this up, but yeah.
And then Kirk Cousins now, and number one, and this is what I wonder now, Herm, how much trouble will the Raiders eventually be in? Because Derek Carr is the highest right now, just at about $25 million a year. But here's where the good part is now for them.
Correct.
Is the fact that Amari Cooper is still on the first contract. Khalil Mack is on the first contract. But what happens when those guys come up and you have all this money now on Derek Carr? So is that a team we're going to be going, because we're going, man, is the future bright there. But now, is it now limited because, you got other stars you're going to have to pay, and you just put a ton of a percentage of your cap with your quarterback?
This is what happens. If you're going to, when you do this, you better draft well, and you better develop players well.
Your margin for error is this thin.
So you got to have
thin.
You have to have a great coaching staff that can develop players. You have to have a great scouting system that understands the players that will fit there. So when this comes about, you can continue to develop young guys, because every 4 years you're going to have to make a decision on those guys you drafted and said, okay, where do they fit? This is a Seattle situation, right? Where Seattle paid everybody, but then eventually they have to pay the quarterback. So you have to stay ahead of it. And I think if you're an organization now, this is the way you have to play the game in the National Football.
Well, that's on Reggie McKenzie now, right? I mean, the GM with the Raiders, he's got to.
He's done a really nice job building a team.
Yes.
The question is, how do you keep it?
Keep the team. Exactly right.
Well, to the point you were making, and we sort of brought this up in the segment before Herm got here, the big contracts that both Brees and Joe Flacco got, the most dead money the last 3 years in the NFL, 2015 Saints, 33.8. 2016 Saints, 43.9. 2017 Ravens, 18.8. If you pay these guys, you have to hit on everything. You have to make sure nobody's injured. You have to make sure every draft pick is great. And I think Perriman was the receiver that the Ravens.
Yes.
That didn't work out.
Right.
So everything becomes microscopic.
Basically what you have is when you sign that quarterback to that big deal, you're saying to your organization and to your fan base, we basically got about a 3 to 4 year window before we owe the rest of these guys money. And then we can't afford all of them.
Exactly.
And you got to make your run in that window. And we see it. Like the Raiders right now, they have a window of opportunity. They have a great offensive line. They went out and got him a running back, Marshawn Lynch. If he can just play halfway decent, they've done some things to their defense all of a sudden. So now they're ready. But they've got a little bit of a window, and if they don't make it through that window, you'll see this team just separate, because you can't keep everyone. That's the way the league works.
What a difference between that and a team like Golden State, where they can find a way to keep those guys. And the reason you may not is the guys themselves may want to end up somewhere else, but there are mechanisms in place where you can keep these guys. In the NFL, you can't.
Well, they're 60 compared to 12.
Right. Yes, but the NFL annual revenue is like $13.4 billion.
$13.4 billion, yes. But the NBA jumped by 50% with the new TV deal for 15 players.
Right.
A team. Theirs was $8 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
$8 billion for 53 players on a roster. That's $13 billion. Do the math.
That's still,
as I said,
5,000 more million for the
As I said,
NFL.
the math so favors the NBA right now, and good for them.
Yeah.
Again, everyone get paid.
There's a lot to get into there, including the idea of whether or not they actually need a salary cap in the NFL when everyone gets the same broadcast money. It's unlike any other sport.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and tweet us at 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. But, you know, when Herm's here, it's just straight talk.
Yes, it is.
Straight talk wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts.
Seamless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Herm.
Yes.
There's a lot to get into.
Come on.
We started with a lot of great topics about Kirk Cousins and Washington, that situation. But I must ask this. Were you surprised that Dave Gettleman, the general manager of the Panthers, was fired on Monday?
Very, very surprised, and I know Ron Rivera has to be surprised as well. He was in Tahoe last week.
So he was
I was playing golf with him. He wasn't in American City. He played in Gene Upshaw's the week prior because he goes up there with his wife every year, and they have a vacation home that they're building up there. And a good friend of mine from my hometown, you know that, Ron. And that was never one of the subjects we talked about. We actually talked about his football team and really trying to protect the quarterback and the fact that, they went and got McCaffrey and Samuels. That adds a different dimension to their offense.
Right.
But that was the least of his process of thinking that the GM was going to be fired before he went to training camp.
It's crazy.
So obviously the great thing about you is you can give the perspective of a player and a coach. So let's put it on the coaching cap right now. What does that do now for a Rivera and that organization as you head almost into camp? The GM is an important thing, but we're going into camp. Your team is set by 90. Obviously, you have to make some decisions along with camp. So everyone's saying, wow, why would you do it now? What's the actual effect that the head coach and the players would feel right now?
Well, Ron, I think this might be his, third GM? Since he's been there. So he survived a lot of GMs all of a sudden. And I think the process for Ron is look, I'm going to get the football team ready to play. I have no idea what they're going to do with the GM, whether he has a say or not. I think knowing Ron, he's got to get this team playing well again, and it starts with the quarterback. You know, this guy in the last 6 years, Cam Newton, has been sacked 221 times and has been hit 922 times. He's averaging about 100 run attempts, and the conversation I had with Ron was, look, we got to protect him better now, and this is why you get a McCaffrey and a Samuels. All of a sudden, they can do things quickly with the ball in their hand. And I think he wants Cam to understand that. We got to get the ball out of your hand a little quicker. Now we've got the dimension of two dynamic players that can hit home runs on a 5-yard pass. You know, this offense has been throw it down the field. They still want to throw it, make big plays, but I think now Cam is in a situation where he's got two guys that he can get the ball to very quickly in space and make plays offensively. We know defensively they're going to be pretty good. They actually played better as the season ended last year. Their secondary was young, but I thought they came together. So they'll be pretty good.
Why do you think that he got fired? I mean, this is a real head scratcher. And then you hear the players coming out about how they don't. But
as players.
It's not like there has to be a love relationship between a GM and a player.
Well, Mr. Richardson, obviously, is a former player. He's the owner there. He's a guy that makes some decisions. Sometimes you wonder, well, why did he make that decision? I mean, that's an in-house deal. I mean, who knows what was going on behind
behind the curtain
doors?
there,
but obviously didn't work out very well for Mr. Gettleman.
Well, you can stay for the next segment,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
We got more to talk about here,
sure.
But let's just wrap up this thing. When you look at some of the players that Gettleman let go, they let Steve Smith walk after 2013. He had 79 catches and over 1,000 yards as a 35-year-old. They let D'Angelo Williams walk after 2014. He responded by leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns, 11 as a 32-year-old. We all know what happened with Josh Norman. It was there. He wasn't there on the franchise tag, and the Panthers proceeded to let him go, and they ranked 29th in pass defense in 2016. They were 11th the year before. So a lot of decisions about players that he thought weren't going to contribute anymore are still contributing.
You're wondering if the Norman thing kind of put him on notice behind, as Herm said, behind closed doors to say, "Ooh, boy, I'm not really sure about that one." But something had to go on,
absolutely,
right, to have this thing end the way it did.
Again, all this is just we're laying it out for you.
Guys don't really talk about antiperspirant. Despite that, 91% of Dove Men Plus Care users recommend it. Here's what they said.
It blocks the, perspiration, I think is the fancy word.
It's comfortable. It smells nice. My girl likes the smell.
Well, it's hard.
I think it's quite masculine.
My underarms aren't the worst thing at the gym.
It's kind of like the Hoover Dam from my armpits, I guess.
Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Tough on sweat, not on skin.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Sneak peek. Mike and Mike, Trey and Mike, Wingo Golic, Golic Wingo, all these things happening on November 27th.
November 27th.
So after you stuffed yourself with turkey, right?
What is that, about week?
Sure.
Yes,
11,
week way
10?
into the season?
Yeah. Home stretch.
Well,
we're gonna take you home.
Got to start somewhere.
We're gonna drive you home starting November 27th.
We'll do a getting to know you segment since Trey and I have just met.
Exactly. First time. Hey, how are you, Trey?
How you doing, Trey?
Pleasure.
I'm Mike.
Nice
Good to see you.
Yeah. Welcome in, Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and then there are these stellar guests that show up in studio, like my road dog Herm Edwards, here with us for a little extra bonus time.
Always that.
I
appreciate the bonus time with the Herminator.
I think it's good bonus time. Before there's a lot of topics to cover, but this is and it's football we're talking about. So for a moment, let's look back, Herm.
Yes.
Tomorrow. That's looking forward. I know.
Yep.
Follow me.
Okay, I'm with you.
Baltimore, Jacksonville, New Orleans. Rookies report tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So let's go back in time. I remember a week or two before camp would start. My wife would want me out of the house because you already start getting in that kind of that mental mode you're going in. But
by the way, I just nodded like, yes, I know what you're talking about.
No.
I believe that you know what you're talking about.
Sorry if I'm leaning more toward Herm on this conversation.
I get it. I'm just going to sit over here.
We'll get to the Little League part about your career here in a minute. But, man, as a rookie going in, I'll never forget my dad's words growing up, keep your mouth shut and your ears and your eyes open. I just went in there just trying to absorb what I could. I always tell the story, my first time in camp is, and we stayed at San Angelo State University when I was at the Oilers, and I had a clock in my room and a time that we had to get up. But, Herm, I never believed the clock.
Right.
I laid in my bed. And I'd wake up almost every hour. I'd look at the clock on my bed. I wouldn't believe it. I would literally get up, walk into the hallway, look at the clock on the wall in the hallway to make sure it was the same as the one on my bed. I got the worst night's sleep of my life before that first day because I knew if anything else, as a 10th rounder, I couldn't be late. So, man, the beginning of that is really, really tough.
Well, it's kind of interesting you say that because I can remember being a rookie and we were at Widener College where Billy White Shoes actually went to school in Philadelphia. And the rookies were in there like 4 days before the veterans reported. And, you know, you're right. Your anxiety levels up, you know, and the first day of practice you go out there, it's just a bunch of rookies basically. Right. And, you know, maybe some first-year guys and you're kind of doing your deals. Not that many players, you know, and the thing you learn right away is the lunch line is real short.
Yeah.
You know, it's real short. I mean, lunch, breakfast, dinner, there's no one there. So, and then all of a sudden the veterans come in.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you start looking around and say, boy, there's a lot of guys here. And the lines become very long.
Yes, they do.
First there was like 10 defensive backs I can remember. And when the veterans got there was like 22
And this
of
back
us.
when there was no roster limit.
120 guys in training camp, okay?
Wow.
And this was Dick Vermeil's training camp. This was Wingo. 6 preseason games.
Right.
So you're in training camp for 2 months. And you got shoulder pads on. In the morning, you wear
hitting all
shoulder
the time.
pads.
Two-a-days.
Yeah.
Yes,
Two-a-days.
actual
Real
two-a-days.
Yeah.
And Vermeil, sometimes when he was the Rams coach, wanted to try 3-a-days.
Yeah.
And they locked the water up. You had a water break. It wasn't like you just go get some water. It's like they had the water like in change. You couldn't get water. Sitting over there.
Well, they used to give you like salt tablets.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Just for, you know, now while a lot of that's changed, and we learned obviously you need water and the training and all that has changed.
It's just that water is necessary.
Still the anxiety for those young guys. I mean, and I mean, I know you have your off-season program and your mini camp, but now you're in pads. You know, now you're hitting, and now you're really in the league.
And here's when the Turk comes by to cut you. Yeah. That's another thing you didn't realize when you're a rookie. You know, he says, well, how do they let you know if you make the team? And the veterans will kind of tell you, hey, boys, it's cut day tomorrow. And you're like, what does that mean? Well, I found out. My roommate was a guy by the name of Skip Sharp. He was a drafted guy, defensive back, good player out of Kansas, I believe it was. And so about 4 o'clock in the morning, like you said, you can't, I don't sleep.
Yeah.
He doesn't sleep.
There was a piece of paper that was slipped under the door. And I kind of looked, I went, what is that, And he was sleeping. I get up, and I go, I lift up the paper, and it has his name on it. I went, ooh. I said, what does that mean? And I start thinking, so I leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I leave the paper down. I sneak out and I run down to where we dressed. Right, it was a half a mile away, and I open my locker to make sure my stuff's there. I said, they just cut Skip Sharp. I said, are they going to cut me too? And I looked at my pads were in there. I said, I made it another day, right?
Unbelievable.
But that's how they used to cut you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
remember?
Now they walk around and they'll say,
Yeah.
Now you know that guy is there. Every team has a different guy who's the Turk.
The Turk.
And you see that guy coming, and you just have to stand there and you pray to God he walks by you. I've known guys that wouldn't answer a phone call or a knock on the door, thinking if they didn't answer the phone or the door, they wouldn't be cut.
It would make it go away. Yeah,
it wasn't really happening. But man, let the anxiety begin. But for a lot of them, quite honestly, let the fun begin. It's why we did it. We love the game. But
absolutely,
it all gets going tomorrow in these 3 places for these rookies.
Okay, so those are rookies that are going into the league this year. Herm, we got to talk about a guy who had a very impressive rookie year last year for the Dallas Cowboys, but we're talking about him for a lot of the wrong reasons. Adam Schefter had reported a couple of weeks ago that the NFL is still likely to maybe suspend him for a couple of games relating to that domestic violence incident that happened over the summer before he became a rookie for the Cowboys a year ago. And now there's a report that he was involved in a altercation, a bar fight Sunday night in Dallas. And look, we're beginning to see a pattern here with Zeke. And then there was the incident on St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Where anybody in Dallas knows that you don't go down to that parade because you know what goes on in that thing. It's just a bleep
Plus
show.
everything is going to it's going to be on camera somewhere.
Correct. There's no way to avoid it. So now we're looking at a Zeke Elliott pattern here that we've seen several instances of things are going poorly. He and Dak were the biggest reasons, as well as that offensive line a year ago, that they were able to do what they were able to do. You're a coach, okay? You're Jason Garrett. How do you get through to Zeke that, hey, man, it's enough.
Yeah, I think you got to present this to him. Look, we sit in a situation now as an organization and as a league. The image is very important, and we've got an image problem. And if you continue down this path, it's going to hurt your career. It's going to hurt your ability to going forward. And I got to help you as a coach. And this is a conversation that you have with this young man when you first draft him, because there's some things before that you've heard. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, players have the right to go out and all that stuff.
They do.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't go out, but you have to be careful. And I would do this if I was Jason. And I've done it. To be quite honest, I'm not saying this sitting here. I mean,
you
said,
Johnson.
I think there comes a point to where you have to say, you know what, I got to help this guy. And the only thing he understands if he's not playing.
Yeah, for people that don't understand, share the story with running back Larry Johnson. When you were in Kansas City, he was your best player.
Yeah, he was my best player
on the team at that time. And what did he do?
Well, he
threw a drink in somebody's face.
Yeah, in this lady's face. And what I did is I did my own investigation. I said, who was there? Some of the players there. I said, come on, what happened? They tell me the story. And so I said, okay, I got it. And I didn't, the league's going to do their investigation. Well, I call the commissioner. I say, you do what you do, but I'm getting ready to do what I got to do as a head coach, because I have to control the locker room. I have to make a point to the players. Like, this is not going to continue to go on. This is a bad image for the National Football League and this organization. And I'm going to make sure it doesn't continue to happen. So I told Larry, I said, you practice all week. And I said, but you're not going to play. I'm just going to sit you down. And I sat him down for 2-3 weeks as the league was doing their investigation. And I think if you're Jason Garrett, the only thing this guy's going to learn, he's going to have to learn to be accountable to this team and to his teammates. That opening day game against the Giants, I wouldn't play him.
There's a possibility he wouldn't be there anyway.
Well, yeah,
Leave him down. See, and this is where Jason guys get ahead of it.
Yeah.
He's got to call the commissioner and say, look, you guys do what you do, but understand what I'm getting ready to do. He's not going to play.
Do you think most coaches would do that? I mean, it is a win-lose league right now, man.
Yeah, but you know what? This is why you have Darren McFadden and Alfred Morris. You got to live with it. What if he gets hurt?
Right.
I mean, you still got to play.
Right.
I mean, that was always my deal. Look, if a guy gets hurt, they don't cancel games. You got to still play.
Right. Now, again, let's wait for this investigation, because there are some that are saying he was defending somebody. We don't know yet. We're gonna wait and find out more.
And he might have been. That'd be great.
But I'm not sure if he did punch this guy in the. I just don't know how you spin it. You know what I mean? With everything else that's going on around Zeke. That's the bigger issue.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
And I'm just playing devil's advocate because he's a guy who's got himself in some situations. He's a guy, I think, as we know, some athletes today, just you listen, he was a star at Ohio State.
Sure.
Rarely are you reprimanded for anything. You can get away with a whole lot. And as I said, every player thinks they're invincible anyway.
Right.
Not even just the stars, lower players as well, when you're a professional athlete. Would it change anybody's perspective if you heard, you know what? That guy that he punched was messing with one of his friends or a girlfriend that was there, or a girl that was there, or a guy, and he stood up in their defense and ended up punching this guy. Does that change it?
Not, for me, no, because you don't put yourself in that situation. You got too much to lose. You have too much to lose. You represent this organization. You represent the National Football. You're a star. You're one of the stars in the league, okay? And every player is important, but this guy's a star. There's no doubt about it, and we want him to continue. The only thing that you have to put him in a situation now where if he misses a game due to his behavior off the field or his association at places where things seem to get a little edgy, and you go, why is he there?
Right.
Why is he putting himself in that situation?
Well,
you got to help him.
Listen.
And Mike, the only way you help him is say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take something away from you that you really love.
Right.
And that's the game of football. Okay? And you know what? It sends a message to the locker room. Now the players are starting to say, hey, man, what are you doing? What are you doing here? You're the star of the team.
I agree with that.
You're getting suspended for something not even – why are you there?
I agree with that. When you start letting down your teammates, guy next to you, I just wanted to play devil's advocate
and
a little bit.
That's a fair point to bring up, but with him, you can't look at it in a vacuum. You have to look at it in a broader sense of everything that's going on. By the way, Mike and Mike presented by Shell Pennzoil. Get instant gold. Status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. And the interesting thing, Herm, about the dynamic between Zeke and Dak is that they hit it off.
Yes.
They're boys together on the field, and they sort of have a great relationship off the field. But the two of them could not be more different in the way they handled themselves. I feel like whenever we're talking about Zeke, he's 22 going on 17. Dak feels like he's 23 going on 35.
Well, do you remember, and I saw a little clip of, remember Dak in the situation he got into? The quarterback, we had it on ESPN when he got in a fight or something.
Spring break, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those deals. He learned a lesson.
Well, he's been through a lot.
Right. But he learned a lesson. It was like one of those deals where it woke him up and he said, hey, and we had him down at the Pro Bowl.
Right.
Look, both great kids. I'd want both of them on my team. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But I think there comes a point where you have to help the player. And sometimes young players need to know, you know what? Hey, you got to slow down, partner. You have to slow down because at the rate you're going, something really bad could happen. And shame on me if I don't help you as a coach.
I think one thing that we see less of, and I'm not in every locker room, so I don't know for a fact, is, boy, you could have some great people to look at right in that locker room. I mean, a guy like Jason Witten. I mean, some great pros to learn from, and maybe they do. You can learn professionally from how to practice, how to watch film, how to lift, how to take care of your body. But there is another part. There is the off the field. There is all the time that you have on your hands. And now in the off season, you have even more time on your hands. I know which coaches hate, but there is a process to learn. Just because you're a pro doesn't mean you're a professional yet. And you have so many great examples of guys in the league or on your own team where you can learn. But I just think in today's society, Herm, a lot of guys think they know already.
Yes. Well, it's just talk about timing. We're talking about this. Something else has just come out about Zeke. The 21-year-old is appealing a misdemeanor conviction for speeding after a state trooper clocked his 2016 Dodge Charger traveling over 100 miles an hour on the Dallas North Tollway near Frisco earlier this year. And for those of you that don't know, the toll road there that they call it, the tollway, is this very busy thoroughfare. Now, I don't know what time of day it was, but there are a ton of cars on that road most of the time. And it's a really crowded, congested area. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Apparently, when he did this, and he was trucking at 100 miles an hour.
It was in April.
100 miles an hour.
Look, and here's the situation. There comes a point to where this becomes a recurring incident.
Right. I think we've got there.
And so now someone has to say, hey, look, before it gets really bad, I got to do something. I got to say, enough. Okay? And maybe you could say, well, it's not his fault. And he should, hey, I got to help you now. because you're going down the wrong road, and something really bad could happen if you continue to go down this road.
It does seem, because it's different things as well. The incident at the parade with the girl, the speeding, at a nightclub, and then obviously the worst of all is the investigation. We would agree, the domestic violence and
yes.
the thought that I know Adam Schefter had said that the thought he would it would sit him down for a week or two. The league would, but you're right. It's just occurrence after occurrence. So I guess what gets through to them, and to your point, Herm, you're right. Fines are one thing.
No, when you tell them no recess, that gets them.
And it should, because now you're sitting there and you can't help. I've always said I think football is one of the greatest sports, a team sport, when you have to rely on the guy next to you. And all of a sudden, everybody's walking by you knowing, you know what? We can't rely on you this week because you're sitting.
Right. You're taking money off my table now.
Right. Yeah. You're hurting the team now.
Yeah. Well, listen, it just seems like there's a lot that's going on there. So we'll see what happens going forward. But Dak is such a role model for him, and they're close, they're tight.
Yeah.
Just look how he handles himself, and maybe that's the closest thing he can do. I don't know. It just seems like every 3 days we're finding something else about Zeke, and it's not related to how good he is on the field. And boy, he was really good last year, really good.
And he's a good kid to be around. He's a fun guy. He's not. Look, the little bit I know of him, he's very polite when he speaks to you, but he gets himself in some situations where he's compromising his career right now.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah. Not this young, not this early into it. So
you don't need to do that.
All right, so there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of other stuff going on here, and we talked about the Panthers firing general manager Dave Gettleman in the last hour, but there's a question I wanted to bring up with you we didn't get into, which was, you said Ron Rivera, the head coach of the Panthers, was with you over the weekend, so he wasn't even really there when this went down. My question for you as a former player and as a former head coach, what do you need your relationship to be like with your general manager? What needs to be a working relationship?
Well, the working relationship has to be this, is that you both have similar philosophies of how you want to build the team. I mean, that's the key component, is because of the fact that most head coaches don't they don't deal with the money part of it. They don't have to pay the players. I mean, all the coaches, you always want your players. You want your players to get paid. You want to shop in free agency. What type of players are you drafting for your system? And so that relationship has to, and sometimes you're not always going to agree, but for the most part, you need that type of working relationship. Who they hire, I think this team, for the most part, is already built to go on this year. But going forward, the pressing needs of, okay, what are we about to do? It'll be interesting who they hire. I mean, I don't know if Ron's going to have a say-so or not, but for Ron, it's, I got to get the guys ready to play football.
And from the side of, you heard a few players coming out and saying, oh, they didn't like the guy. And that, as I just touched on it earlier, but I'll ask you as well. There doesn't need to be a great GM-player relationship, does there?
No.
I mean, it's not like this guy is hired to put together a team on the field. Doesn't mean you got to love the guy.
No.
Doesn't mean you got to like the guy. It's his job to get a team out there, and it may rub some people the wrong way, especially how D'Angelo Williams is gone, Steve Smith was gone. Guys that now they're talking about Thomas Davis and Greg Olsen. What was going to go on with them? I don't know if that's something that pushed it over the edge. There's the team-building aspect of it. They did go to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And then there's the relationship. And unless it's affecting big-time free agents who don't want to come there because of you, then there really doesn't have to be this great relationship.
Right. And that could be a problem going forward. Maybe Mr. Richardson said that, hey, you know what? Free agents don't want to come here because of the situation.
That certainly would be a problem.
And it's not the head coach. It's the GM, and it's that. But I will say this about Mr. Gettleman. Built a pretty good team.
No, there's no question about that.
No doubt about it. He took the image of the Giants because he's been with the Giants. He wanted big guys.
Yep. Hog mollies is what he called
big guys up in the fronts. And he knew, I'm going to build my fronts on offensive line, defensive line, and that's how he built his football teams. It's a job done very well as far as building the core of the team. And now they got to continue to build that, who the GM will be.
But see, that's what makes it even weirder. I mean, that's what makes it even weirder. I mean, the plan was working.
Yeah.
Won
a lot of football games. You guys, they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
40, 23-1, I think, was the record over the last 4 years, right?
Yes.
In his 4 seasons. And I think They made the playoffs 3 of those years.
3 of those years, yeah.
Granted, one was a 7-8-1. I get it, but you know what? You
in
play
the
your
playoffs.
schedule, and they won a playoff game that year.
Hey.
Now, granted, that was without Carson Palmer got hurt, and Drew Stanton was playing for the Arizona Cardinals that year. So but that's what the timing of it, and the fact that there was a successful plan. That's the stuff that catches.
It's not like they stunk and said, "Okay, you're just."
I mean, they were bad last year.
Yeah.
I get it.
They were bad last year. Yeah,
But you know what's unique about this season too? I mean, we know every year we sit here and we say coaches are on a hot seat. Okay, that's just part of the dialogue that we have. A lot of GMs were let go.
Yeah.
Dorsey,
yeah.
Two in the summer is really
Yeah, I mean,
really
there's a lot of GMs all of a sudden that change some seats. That's interesting. You don't see that a whole lot in the league.
Well, we'll see what happens going forward with them. Brody, we appreciate you joining us for a
pleasure.
bonus segment because we know you got other stuff to do. Hey, later on.
Yeah,
today,
absolutely.
We're going to do it.
That's done.
Yeah, we'll do
You guys enjoy that.
We'll get you out
A little
there.
golf, huh?
We'll get you out
Yeah,
there.
that's okay.
Get you some new bets.
Yeah,
I
need that.
Need some new bets.
You need that.
If you need new stuff, Herm's the guy you want to know.
There you go.
Herm know a little bit. Herm know a little bit of everybody and everywhere. He
Like
can help
that.
you.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at lq.com.
All right, we roll on. We're presented on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 by Progressive Insurance and all guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. But then again, they're the special guys who probably use a little Dove.
I would say.
Like the dreamy Jeff Darlington joins us now, NFL Insider, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contract. Let's start with the Straight Talk. You promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Hold up your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand. Hold it up.
Hold it up there.
Hold it up. You can zoom in.
For those listening,
he's playing injured.
For
I
those
can show you the whole deal, too.
Yeah, for those listening on the radio, Jeff has his
got a little boo-boo.
hand wrapped up. Like the palm of his hand. Something's wrong with the palm of his hand. It's wrapped up. So what happened? I mean,
I thought I could get away with this, and then I remembered that I have to shake hands at occasional
Was
moments.
it maybe something like there was a car accident, you dove in there and saved somebody?
Maybe
it was actually
maybe you pulled
a building on fire.
or
Yes,
a drowning
yes.
cat that you reached down and
something like
saved, saved a woman from
I was
being
making a
bit by
pancake,
shark.
Mike.
You were making a pancake. Okay, explain further.
Well, I was actually trying to bake a pancake.
Okay,
Bake.
rule number one. Rule number
Okay.
one, don't bake a pancake.
No.
Rule number 1 is don't cook.
That's also that's
Okay?
rule number 2.
Rule number 2,
But if
don't bake a pancake.
How are you baking
There's this
a
one
pancake?
restaurant I like to go to, and they have great baked pancakes. So this place, Obie House, I try to do it
at
myself.
home.
I take it out of the oven, 425 degrees. I put it on the stove. I go to do something else with the eggs. Real father these days, right?
Right.
Trying to cook a nice breakfast.
Sure.
I turn,
Grab the handle
grab the handle.
of a pan that just came out of an oven.
Yeah, we're talking second degree here.
Okay.
baby.
All right.
I'll show you later.
Where'd you go to college again?
Come on.
Seriously.
University of Florida.
All right, just checking.
And I apologize. I apologize to my esteemed
So you
institution.
can't even do the thing right now because that would
Yeah.
hurt.
Wow.
You can't do any of that.
You guys want to talk about football?
Actually, this is more fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, we're glad you're slightly okay.
I survived.
You're just a little. You're a little.
We can't golf though, Trey. That's
That's not a problem for me. We can't golf. I can.
You can,
and I will.
and you will.
And
You'll
I
find. You will soldier on.
Herm and I will be doing that later on today. Thank you for bringing that up. But let's talk about. First of all, the The Gettleman thing is really weird,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
What have you been able to glean about that situation?
Well, I go back and forth on this, and I've talked to a number of people both inside that building and within the NFL, and the thing that this comes back to is the idea, the concept that these bold moves that Gettleman has made, starting with Josh Norman, really people try to point toward
Steve
Smith
Smith, Angelo Williams. Yeah.
I don't think that they went to the Super Bowl after they cut those guys. So I think we can dismiss those. But guys like Josh Norman, when you let a star like that go and then you see the deficiencies the following season.
11th in pass defense to 29th.
Right.
Yeah.
You start to question that internally within the building. And that's because Gettleman has rubbed people the wrong way. You know, general manager has a word in there. Manager. You have to manage the roster a certain way. I go back and forth on this. I see former players ripping Gettleman. Well, that's because they're former players. If I saw a lot of current players ripping Gettleman and saying, hallelujah, he's gone, then I might question it a little bit more. There's a lot of general managers who rub people the wrong way, who don't believe that they should even be friendly with players inside the building. Jerry Richardson apparently just doesn't want that to be the general manager he has.
It just seems to be a buildup, though, because why not? If you're not happy, Norman was gone for a year. Why not do it in the offseason before all the other things have to be done?
That's exactly right. Why for a week before training camp?
It's the timing is inexcusable, and they'll tell you it's because Thomas Davis, these other guys want to get paid, and they don't want to see them become the same victim, that quote-unquote victim, that Norman became as a result of Gettleman's actions. Look, they also let a talented guy go to Buffalo. The Chiefs let a talented guy in Chris Ballard go to Indianapolis to become their GM. If you're going to make this decision, make sure that you do it before you let the talented personnel guys go to another team.
Yeah, and just so people understand why we're saying the timing is so strange, over the last 5 years, there have been 22 GM firings. 4 of them were fired in March or later. Of those 22, only 4 of them have been fired in March or later, and most of them this year. I mean, all of them this offseason: McLuhan, Whaley, Dorsey, and Gettleman.
Gettleman also, by the way, you look at that Super Bowl roster, in 3 offseasons, just 3, 41 of the 60 players on that Super Bowl team were Gettleman's acquisitions.
Right.
So it's difficult. And he inherited some really good guys,
Yes,
Cam Newton,
yeah.
of course, but that's difficult for me to look at and say that this is his fault that they had a little bit of an offseason.
Well, that one's done and finished, so they're going to get a new GM. What's done as far as Washington is concerned is any negotiations with Kirk Cousins. He's going to play on the $23.9 million franchise tag. So is this his last year in Washington now because of that?
Yes. Quite frankly, and if it's not, there's one reason why, and it's money. It's $34 million. That's the only reason that keeps Kirk Cousins in Washington.
But Washington couldn't afford to do that, right? Pay him $34 million.
Well, I mean, that'd be the 1 year tag, right? That would be
exactly. That's a tag.
Still like $34 million against the cap.
If they do that, you got to look back 2 years before that and say, well, we could have gotten a 5-year deal done for way less than this. It's absurd what Washington has done with Kirk Cousins, and for Cousins to turn around and say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm good right now. I see nothing wrong with that. I was talking to a couple players who love the fact that Cousins is doing this because it does put the power back in the players' hands.
Well, he controls his market now because basically the deal, the numbers that Bruce Allen put out there, and there's no reason to suggest those numbers are incorrect. He would have made 50-something million in guarantee, maybe 72 for injury. He hits the free agent market. He's probably going to get more than 100.
But why now? All we've heard, Jeff, is players, don't you dare tag me. You tag me, and I will not re-sign with you. When the franchise tag first came out, the players loved it. Like, oh my God, I'm guaranteed the average of the top 5 players in the league.
Right.
But then it was. Then it became, don't tag me. I didn't want that long-term deal. I don't want. Now all of a sudden it's in vogue again to be tagged.
Especially once you get to the 3rd year and you get this 20% bump again, you're starting to get above market value. And the crazy thing with Cousins is, no matter what happens this year, barring catastrophic injury, everyone around the NFL will excuse any shortcomings that Cousins has because they'll just look at it and say, hey, you lost to Sean Jackson, you lost your offensive coordinator, Sean McVay, Pierre Garcon is gone. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's going to say, I got this. He's going to wind up paying him. Sean McVay, if something doesn't work out with Jared Goff this year, he'll be a suitor, maybe the Arizona Cardinals.
Now, that's interesting.
Jared Goff?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Why not?
Well, I mean, that would be that'd be a really short hook.
McVay and Shanahan both adore Kirk Cousins, and I think that says something about Cousins in itself. These are guys that actually worked with him.
I get that, but, I mean, the idea that they would pull the ripcord on Jared Goff after year 2.
I mean, that's a little early. But
I believe the earliest anybody that's a quarterback that's been taken number 1 overall that was let go was Jamarcus Russell.
Right?
After 3.5 years. I think.
And I've talked to Sean McVay quite a bit about this, and he is.
Have you?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, when I'm not cooking pancakes, I'm talking
baking.
I'm talking to
baking
head
pancakes.
coaches. Yes, baking them. And he is giving Jared Goff.
Well, he has to. What's he going to say? I'm going to get rid of this guy. He's got to give him a shot.
That's why he was hired, essentially.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah,
be the offensive guy.
So then we have the Zeke Elliott situation. I guess before this even came about, was the thought that the league was going to sit him for a game or two anyway? So is that kind of still there?
Oh, it's certainly still there. And I don't know that this necessarily will validate or justify the NFL's ability or decision to do that. I would say that the Cowboys are looking at this. They are not, I wouldn't say concern is the right word at this point, but very aware of Ezekiel Elliott and his desire to go out. I mean, it's no secret in Dallas that Zeke likes to get out there on the town.
You hear a lot. You hear, not things that you can really report and confirm, but you hear a lot.
It's no secret, and it's not stepping over the line to say that everybody in Dallas knows Zeke likes to go out, and nothing wrong with that.
So what's the timing on a suspension? Because obviously, if he gets suspended for a game or two, he can still go through camp, still playing preseason games. Right. It doesn't affect any of that. So is there a timing? Is there
last year?
Yeah. To when they make an announcement on when he's going to be suspended?
No, quite frankly, Elliott is frustrated by this. Jerry Jones is frustrated by the fact that the NFL continues to drag their feet. The NFLPA might be frustrated, if not for the fact that Jerry Jones was the one involved, and maybe they see a little pleasure out of this. But I think it's a situation where they just want to see some resolution. They want to see the NFL say they've got something that they don't.
Well, I want to go back to something you just said. It's okay if he goes out. Yeah, he does, as long as he doesn't get himself in trouble, like he seems to happen a lot. And we talked about this when Herm, when he was there in that seat last hour. Dak and Zeke were both rookies last year, but they could not be more different people away from the field and how they handled themselves.
Right, but here's the thing, Trey. Dak likes to go out too.
Yeah, but you don't hear anything. Dak was out, and this happened here, and that happened there.
And that's the point. I think that Zeke is a very accessible, likable, friendly guy, almost to the point where he's too accessible, too friendly, too willing to put himself out there when he does go out. And that's going to be the key here. Des Bryant has done a very good job of his maturation process, and I think that the fortunate part for Zeke is that he can look toward Des. The Cowboys organization can look back to the blueprint they used with Des, and they can nip this in the bud. Because the bigger thing here, by the way, is that the Cowboys want to make sure that Elliott performs well. And I think that's part of this too, is making sure that he takes care of his body and is ready to go during, for the long haul.
As camps begin to go, any worries about some of the draft picks that aren't signed? In this day, like a Mitch Trubisky, the number 2 pick overall, not being signed yet. Do we have any concerns? We saw Bosa hold out for a while and then come in and had the slight hamstring right off the bat. But
boy, turn that around.
Yeah,
exactly.
He changed that narrative.
But again, let's be honest. A defensive end, you go rush the passer. It's not as intricate as a quarterback. Now, It's not like Trubisky is counted on
That's
to go
the funny
play
part.
now anyway. So, he's not seeing the field right away. But is there any concern with some of the guys that are unsigned?
Well, the only concern there would be that the leverage that the Bears hold over a guy like Trubisky by saying, well, we got Mike Glennon, so we don't even necessarily need you in camp this year. But certainly I think the big thing that always comes into play here is the offset language. That's the one aspect of Joey Bosa's contract that held that up. But no, I don't think there's any concern. I mean, we saw what happened with Bosa and a guy like Trubisky, like we said, no reason for concern at this point. So I think that's one you kind of let camp play it out.
Well, look, we talked about the Cowboys and the issues they're facing with Zeke Elliott, so I think we need to be responsible here and have some good news for the Cowboys.
Okay.
Sure.
Lucky Whitehead's dog has been returned.
Oh, it has? Oh, that's
huge
good.
news.
Huge news. Blitz has been returned. Whitehead posted a short video of his dog early Tuesday morning on Snapchat saying, "Look who made it home safely. Thanks, everyone." For those people that don't know, Lucky Whitehead's house was broken into. They stole some sneakers and his dog.
Who does that?
And were demanding $10,000 in ransom.
Did it meant did he pay a ransom, or is it just
Whitehead
that the dog is back?
Initially asked for $10,000, and it's unclear how he got the dog back.
But he got the dog back. That's all.
It's unbelievable.
Blitz is back. Who dog naps? Really?
Dog naps.
Is Cruella DeVille running around Dallas?
I'll tell you
What's going
what.
on?
There's got to be some bad karma there.
Let me tell you,
That's some bad juju.
You're absolutely right about that.
You know what? I hope happens to those guys?
Yeah.
I hope they burn their hand baking a pancake.
There you go.
That's I hope they
give it
burn
to
their
them the way they
hands
deserve it.
Wow.
Baking a pancake.
What did I do wrong?
Well, we need to talk about that off the air, young man.
Yeah, we do.
We need to talk about that. All right, we'll see you later on today.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
We roll on. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic here this morning. And for those of you that are watching on TV, they just played a little animated thing where Magic pied you.
Pied me because Michigan State beat Notre Dame.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
football.
that makes sense because Magic is somewhat in the news.
You think?
Well, the Lakers, courtesy of Lonzo Ball, won the Las Vegas Summer League.
Right.
Now, Lonzo did not play.
He did not play.
And in the final, because of a calf injury. But after the game, there was a ceremony. Do we have that sound? We don't have it yet? Okay. So he said basically that the Lakers are back. Now, I get it. He's just saying it was the first step. I understand. But do we really think that the first step to the Lakers being back is winning the Summer League?
Listen, I guess you got to start somewhere. You have to, Magic. I'm a glass half full guy, so I'm always looking at glass half full. Brandon Ingram. Now he didn't play much in the Summer League too because he got injured, so he was sitting out. But and then Lonzo with the calf had some issues as well. I like the route they're going, and I'll say it again because of the youth they have there. Take that time for these guys to build. Because it's so hard to say because when you're in it, the last thing you want to hear is you don't have a chance, right?
Of course.
But players know what's going on. The Lakers know as a team right now they're not going to compete in the West right now.
Right.
They're just not going to. Whether it's Golden State, San Antonio, Houston, there are a number of Utah. There are a number of teams ahead of the Lakers. But that doesn't mean you don't make your moves to get better. And we'll see what it holds. Are they going to get Paul George? Does he really want to go there? Are we going all the way to LeBron, who all of a sudden the article's coming out.
He's getting
antsy.
He's
getting frustrated in Cleveland. Who knows? We'll see. But how much that? But the bottom line is the youth that they have there at the Lakers, in letting them get a couple of years under their belt as they grow, and we see where Golden State ends up in a couple of years to see how good this team can be. So you have some of the youth and this draft pick this year, and then you have some of the free agents that you bring in. So I don't know if they're fully back, but you got to like the direction that they're going. For all that's going on with the Ball family and LeVar and all that stuff, Lonzo's a good player.
Yes.
He's a good player. He averaged, 16, 9, and 7, I think it was, in points, assists, and rebounds. Had the most average of assists over 9 in Summer League history, I believe. He's a good player. Now, again, this is against players that won't even be on rosters. But that's all he's playing against right now.
You can only play the competition you have in front of you.
that's exactly right. And he was doing well. So let's see where this thing goes.
Okay, and again, just so people understand, this conversation of the Lakers back, we're saying it tongue-in-cheek because this is what Magic had to say to the fans in Vegas after they won the Summer League championship.
The Lakers are back. We're going to try to make sure we build and grow, and we're going to have a great year, but also build toward having sustainability so that we can have a lot of great years.
Now, you called Lonzo Ball the new face of the Lakers. Kyle Kuzma, championship game MVP. How proud are you of these two rookies?
Well, I'm proud of both of them. Both of them came out here with their teammates and played team basketball. You only get awards when you win. So they both led our Summer League team to the championship, but we're building, and we got another great face of the Lakers and BI.
All right, so that's what started the conversation. The Lakers are
right.
Hey, it's a great step.
Yeah,
but let's look at it.
And
for
he did a building block, and that was the right way to look at it. Yes.
All right. By the way, Mike and Mike reminding you if you want to get in touch with us, like if you want to give us a new name like Golingo.
That's not happening.
It's not happening. We love you, though. Appreciate you.
Thanks for the effort.
Tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes summer, birthday, or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you get another dozen roses absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
I am excited for this rookie class.
Yeah.
Now, listen, it's not like I expect them all to blow up the league and all be in the All-Star game and all that. I know it does take some time, and they're all basically 19 years old. I get it. But I think there's great talent that came in this draft. I'm really looking to see how they're going to fit in on their team. And at this point, when it seems to be Cleveland and especially Golden State, how do you grow in the next couple of years with these young players?
Well, look, the fact that things are good for the NBA is that we're talking about the summer leagues. When
Right.
was the last time we ever talked about the summer league?
Never.
Right. So that tells you how popular it is.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.